I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Controversial Conversations. And today's topic is going to be on black crime versus police and the black community. Of course, this is a touchy subject, and it's probably one of the toughest topics that I ever had to do. So we're going to get started. We're going to talk about black on black crime. So the reason why I think black on black crime happens, this is just my reasoning. I think it happens because as a youth or along the way of the African American community developing, that we tried to make an interpretation of what society thought that we should be. And of course, like, they depicted us stealing. They depicted us, doing all these crazy things that we really weren't doing. And we just some of us just fell into that trap of, this is what they painted me to be, this is how I'm gonna act. And that's where the black on black violence, I think, got created, was because they showed us robbing, stealing, and all that other stuff, and it became what I think is that one person was jealous of another person because of how their life was going, and that jealousy and that rage built up inside them because they didn't have what that other person had. That's when the violence started. Because other than that, like, I meet a lot of African Americans anywhere I go. Do all of them rob me? No. Matter of fact, none of them rob me. Nobody has ever robbed me. But a lot of us, we say, what's up? Or we give a head nod, and then we go about our business. And then you got some of them where I'll give them a head nod, and then they look at me and they're like, what's up? Like, you got a problem with me? And it's like, nah, I'm just saying what's up. But it comes from that insecurity within themselves that they just lash out and they do things, and in their cases it results to violence, and it results to violence on someone who looks like them, who they associate with. And somebody could have either a better life than they have, or they can be in a rival gang or something like that, and they're trying to prove something to somebody that, you know what, that person is my enemy over whatever reason, and I'm about to show you how tough I am. And that's where a lot of it stems from. And if we can just kind of take a step back and talk to these people and, like, actually sit down and have a conversation, because I know some people who were in gangs, and then I talk to them and it's like, what are you in a gang for? Like, you're smart, you can accomplish a lot of things if you just put your mind to it, but you dealing with people who don't have your back, number one. And then number two, it's like, you giving your life away for what? Like, what are you gonna gain if you get locked up because you committed a crime? Nobody is gonna see you but your parents or somebody from your family is the only person that's gonna come see you. Those people that you're hanging out with, probably not gonna come see you at all. That's just being brutally honest. But you should just try to sit down with someone who has had a troubled life or still having a troubled life, and try to get them words of encouragement, try to build them up, and also touch on black on black crime, because there's a lot of jealousy in the world over, like, small petty stuff. And some people, when they feel jealousy, they also feel rage. And then someone else says something and puts it in their mind, puts it in their ear, and all of that negative energy, all of that negativity builds up, and then they go out and they commit this crazy crime that they have to live with for the rest of their lives. And so I just say it starts with just reaching out and talking to someone. That's my opinion on it, because the people that I've talked to who are in crazy situations, they're glad that I talked to them. They're glad that I changed their perspective and outlook on, that's the same thing, but y'all get what I'm trying to say. I changed their perspective on how they viewed something, and I made it into a positive, and they never had somebody change their negative to a positive. And once I did that, I mean, eventually they stopped hanging around the people they hang around, and they are doing well off. I mean, they might not be doing as well as they should be, but it's a process. Just like with anything in life, it's a process, and with to end black on black crime, it's a process to end it, and it starts with just having a conversation with another person. That's it for that one. Now on to police and the black community. Where we fall flat at is that when we got introduced to crooked cops, that just ruined everything. To my opinion, that ruined everything, because when somebody is crooked, you can have a crooked friend, and they might be crooked to everybody else, and that's still your friend. But the moment that they're crooked to you, you just cut all ties. Like, you're like, nope, can't believe you did that to me, even though it's been happening your whole life that you've been with that friend and all that. But just using that as an analogy. But if you take the police and you see how crooked some of them are, not every cop is the same, and I don't ever think that. Like, when I get pulled over, like, I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I show you my hands, I tell you what I'm about to do, but I've been doing that since the first time I ever got pulled over. And so I haven't changed, because I want to make sure that it's clear to you on what I'm doing as a law enforcement officer. But these videos that keep popping up about police shooting certain individuals, and all this other stuff, like, we see the videos, and I haven't seen one personally. I have not seen one where it starts when the officer walks up to the car. It always starts when the officer is already at the car, and then something happens. And so for that brief moment in time where you don't know what led up to the officer doing whatever they did, we don't know that, but we just see that person just got slain down by a cop. And it's like, okay, well, to play devil's advocate, what did they do to warrant that reaction? And we need to ask for that 10-second clip to where the officer walked up to the car, because that can make a big difference. That can make a big difference. Now, do I think what they're doing is right by just whipping out their gun and using that as a first resource? No. Because it's better ways, it's different ways to skin a cat. And using your pistol is not one of them. You can use a taser. You can just tell them that you about to handcuff them. Like, you can do something else other than take a life. Like, I just don't agree with that, with reaching for your gun first, because half the videos I seen, none of them were doing anything but talking to the officer. And the officer just goes, swoop, and it's like, boom, now you just slump somebody, and it's like, you don't know, like, who they are to somebody, And it's like, why would you take a life? For what? Because they said no? Because they said they wasn't going to do anything that you said? So why don't you just call your superior and they come out and they talk to the person? Like, it's different ways you could have went about the situation as a fellow officer and not taking a life. Or you could have called for backup or something. Have somebody view the scene other than you so the proper thing gets done. That's basically what I'm trying to say. That way it leaves no margin for error for the person that is in the car or is being what we call the victim. They don't feel any type of way because you brought backup, and you feel like they feel secure that, okay, the proper thing is going to get done. But I believe it all started when cops became crooked. Some cops became crooked. And once they became crooked, that's when the trust value went from 100% to just diminishing. And the only way to build that back up is if we see change. And with these cops just slaying down like, I know they're not only slaying down African Americans. Like, I'm not that naive, but the majority of the videos that you see out in the world is a cop slaying a African American. And I think, like, if we see the cops that are not crooked more showed about in the news, which of course that may never happen, but even if it doesn't reach the news, those different precincts throughout the world should come together and create a movement within the police structure to weed out all those negative cops, weed out all those crooked cops, and just try to reestablish the police mentality and view of the world. And once they do that, then I think they can rebuild that trust with the people, with the African American community. And honestly, like, yeah, they're supposed to carry a weapon, but why don't you try training on grabbing for your taser first? Try that. That might be a good one. Because if you just train first things first, as soon as we arrive on the scene and no one ever said the scene, like, the person is hostile and has a weapon, they just, they're on the... Every time I see somebody, they're just talking to the cops. Like, they're never hostile with them. They're only hostile when a cop either reaches for them or something like that. And it's like, I wouldn't want anybody touching me either if I just told you I don't have anything on me. And I'm not reaching for anything, so why would you have to touch me? Why am I being detained if you're not going to arrest me? You said you're just talking to me and trying to figure out why I'm somewhere. So that's a wrap for today's episode. I hope everybody continues to have a blessed day. Happy MLK Day. And Martin Luther King stood for so many things. And of course, with every person who was iconic to somebody, they have some negative impacts to some people. But like, in my life, I try to continue to stay on the positive track, and I don't really pay attention to the negatives. And he had a lot of positivity going for him with the marches, with standing up for civil rights. Just a lot of things he has done that we don't get taught in school, and a lot of accomplishments that he created or he set the foundation of that paved the way for us. And that's what this day is all about, is just remembering him and remembering his sacrifice to not only the African American community, but to society as a whole, because he impacted more than just the African American community. He impacted all of us. And with his values, America continues to try to strive for that equality and just try to put that best foot forward whenever they can. But rest in peace, Dr. King, and your dream still lives on. Bless up.
No matter the circumstances, no matter who's in your way, through the fire to the storm, let them know you finna do it right. You done figured out the game so motherfucking right. All my winners, put your hands up.